So, different ko ah.
I spent most of my life believing I was doing the right thing, and now I am not so sure what I was avoiding. My name is James Whitaker, and I am 90 years old. It took me this long to realize that while I was busy fixing everything around me, I never stopped to understand what was happening inside me. When I was younger, I was known as someone people could rely on. If something broke, I would repair it. If there was a problem, I would find a way through it. It became a kind of identity for me, something I carried with quiet pride. People would come to me with their troubles, and I would listen, offer solutions, and send them back a little lighter than before. At the time, it felt like purpose. It felt like I was doing something meaningful with my life. What I did not notice was how easy it became to stay focused on other people's problems instead of my own. It gave me a reason to stay busy, a reason to keep moving forward without asking difficult questions. And the longer I lived that way, the more natural it felt. I remember my wife once telling me, in a very calm voice, that I was always present for everyone else, but somehow distant at home. I did not argue with her, but I did not understand her either. In my mind, I was doing everything a husband should do. I worked hard, I provided, I solved problems before they could grow into something worse. But there was something she needed from me that I did not know how to give. There were moments, quiet ones, where she would sit beside me and try to start conversations that had no clear problem to solve. She would speak about feelings, about things that did not have simple answers. I would listen for a while, then gently steer the conversation towards something practical, something I could fix. I thought I was helping. Looking back now, I think I was avoiding something I did not know how to face. Years passed in this way. Our children grew up seeing me as steady and dependable, someone who could always be counted on. I was proud of that. But I also see now that they did not come to me with everything. There were parts of their lives they kept to themselves, parts I was never invited into. At the time, I told myself it was normal. Children grow. They become independent. They stop sharing everything. I accepted that explanation because it was easier than asking why. The truth is, I never learned how to sit with things that could not be fixed. I did not know how to stay present in moments that required patience instead of solutions. And so, without realizing it, I taught the people around me that I was someone you came to for answers, not someone you came to for understanding. After I retired, the rhythm of my life changed in a way I had not expected. There were fewer problems to solve, fewer people coming to me for help. At first, I tried to fill that space with small tasks, small repairs around the house, anything that gave me a sense of usefulness. But slowly, that sense of purpose began to fade. There were long stretches of time where nothing needed fixing, and in those quiet moments, I started to feel something I had avoided for most of my life. It was not a single feeling. It was a mixture of things I could not easily name. Restlessness, maybe, or a kind of emptiness that did not come from outside but from somewhere deeper. I began to look back on my life, not in big events but in small moments, conversations I had shortened, feelings I had ignored, times when someone close to me needed me to simply listen, and I chose to solve instead. One memory returns to me often, my wife sitting across from me asking me a simple question about how I felt about something that had happened in our family. I remember pausing, not because I did not hear her, but because I did not know how to answer. Instead of telling her that, I gave her a practical response, something safe and distant. She nodded, but there was a quiet disappointment in her eyes that I did not understand then. I understand it now. After she passed away, the house became quieter in a way I was not prepared for. There were no problems waiting for me in the morning, no conversations to redirect, no tasks that required my attention, just silence. And in that silence there was nothing left to fix except myself. That is when I realized how little I knew about my own thoughts, my own fears, my own regrets. I had spent decades looking outward, solving what I could see, while ignoring what I could not, and by the time I turned inward, much of my life had already passed. I do not say this with bitterness. It is simply something I have come to understand. If I could go back, I do not think I would stop helping others. That was never the problem. The problem was that I used it as a way to avoid myself. I mistook action for understanding and solutions for connection. Now at 90, I spend more time sitting with my thoughts than I ever did before. Some days are peaceful, others are heavier, but there is a kind of honesty in it that I did not allow myself when I was younger. If you are listening to me, and you find yourself always fixing things, always solving, always staying busy, I would ask you to pause sometimes and turn your attention inward, not to judge yourself, but simply to understand what is there, because a life spent solving everything on the outside can quietly leave something unfinished on the inside, and it is better to notice that while there is still time to sit with it, rather than waiting until the silence leaves you with no choice,